Welcome to the They to We Leadership Podcast, where we unpack the hard truths about management. Many professionals excel at the work itself, but when they step into management, everything changes. Each episode, we explore why so many struggle with that shift and how reconnecting with your people, your purpose, and your identity as a manager can make all the difference. I've been doing leadership training for over 40 years. And obviously, I've learned a lot from talking to others on the breaks in classes, as well as I've learned a lot from going into over a dozen agencies and individually talking with members of those agencies. And it's always interesting that you find the same problems, whether it's some police officer in Alabama or a police manager from Botswana, or it was 1995 when I'm having this conversation, or 2023. You almost have to keep a straight face as you're hearing what's going on because of the commonality that one, managers are failing, but what the important thing that we have to do is why? Why do good men and women from the operational level, when they get promoted, fail? And there's really two reasons, the elephants in the room. And if somebody asks me, give me a 5-minute summary of why managers fail, this is what I would tell them. One, the role of self deception. Solomon said that every person is justified in their own mind. There is a blindness in human behavior of seeing what everybody else is doing wrong, but we don't see what we're doing. That basically we are constantly scanning around us how everybody is making a mistake, being an idiot, but we're not observing our own behavior. And if we do, we rationalize it and we don't take ownership for it. The problem is we live delusionally. And if you are in an elevator with the worst manager in the agency and you say, "How's it going?" as just a courtesy. And if they really believe that you're asking, how are they doing? And this is the worst manager, what will they say? "I'm doing fine. I should have made captain. I'm probably one of the best people here. And, I've been screwed over, rah, 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 rah." And when you're hearing this, this is not the reality of this person's life. But please listen, this is everybody. We all do this. We all look at ourselves delusionally and have a better opinion of ourselves than the reality, and which makes the gap between what we say we believe versus what we do is dramatic. And so people show up every day thinking, "Well, I'm not that bad. I make mistakes," but they are condemning everybody around them. And that's why you see, in a way, they're pointing at everybody. And if you ask what is going wrong in the agency, they use the same pronoun, they, that basically summarizes that they're looking at everybody else and talking about how they're screwed up. But they don't include themselves in that. So they are self deceived and they are blind. And the Greek word for pride means to look down on people, but it also means that as you do that, you're surrounded by heavy smoke and fog. You are blind to what's going on. The second elephant in the room, which is directly related to the first one of self deception, is fear. And if you would have ever told me when I first started doing leadership training in 1984, that a warrior class culture who runs to the sound of the gun, who will without hesitation go down an alley after an armed felon, risk their lives for their fellow officers and deputies, as well as the public, has a management culture who is paralyzed by fear of getting in trouble. The people on the street are strangers, but the people in the building are people that we're going to have to deal with in the future. And we're afraid if we say something, they're going to be mad at us. And as a result of that, this changes the whole dynamics of how we were so effective operational on the street because we did the right thing. And inside the building, we're always worried about this could get me in trouble. The lieutenant's going to be mad. And so what ends up happening is it becomes easy just to do nothing. And that's why most managers don't apply the basic principles of leadership. They don't deal with the problem employed. They don't communicate. I really do believe, and maybe this is just too cynical, that one of the reasons they don't go out with their people and spend time with them is because they want a sense of deniability. I didn't know this was going on. So problems are not resolved as a result of that. But more importantly, directly related to the self-deception is that people don't tell us the truth. And let's go back to the illustration of the lieutenant on the elevator who's the worst manager. If he says, I'm doing fine and all that, what difference would it make if you said, Lieutenant, if I didn't care for you, I wouldn't say this. But most people don't trust you and they don't like you because you're very emotional. Your check engine light's always going off. You get real upset over a simple mistake. You never communicate with everybody. Will they be mad at you? Absolutely. But you were faithful to wound them. Solomon said, faithful are wounds of a friend. But because of fear of man, because of fear of telling people the truth, we don't do that. And this creates this self-deception and grounds it in this delusional thing because we don't tell people the truth. I'm going to say this, at the end of the day, you will be an amazing person if you care enough about people to say something to help bring them back to reality. And when we do that with each other, we are helping each other to live in reality, not delusion. And that's why most managers fail. They think they're doing fine. And I used to joke that my dad used to say as he undid his belt, they ain't going to be no revival if there ain't no confession going on. The reason no confession's going on is because people are not being told you're not handling this well. You're being a coward. I'm going to use this Amazon gift card that I have left over. I will order you a spine if you need it. And in that mutual accountability, that is when you become reinforced in the reality that we all can make mistakes, but we're going to change this. But without that feedback, and I keep telling people, silence helps no one. And if we care enough about people to hold them accountable and they care enough about us to hold us accountable, those two elephant rooms go away because we don't live a delusional life about how we're doing. We live in reality, and we also have the support of other people in our lives to kind of keep us from stepping off the curb and being stupid. And if we have people in our lives that do that, we're not so stupid. We're very effective. But without the accountability of others, we live delusionally and we're afraid to do our jobs. And people are also afraid to tell us we're not doing our jobs. Thanks for joining us on the They to We Leadership podcast. If today's episode helped you think differently about management, take a moment to reflect and then apply it. Because real leadership isn't what you say, it's what you do next. And the real enemy is our pride and blindness on how we are really doing. Only with the help of others can we truly make an impact on those around us.